All right, welcome back to Big Board. Take two. I stopped the recording. Okay. The Fall to Brook. I had touched on this game previously. I had experimented with some combat and moved a few bits and pieces around. Came away thinking, yeah, I'm not sure I want to dive into this right now. Plus, I didn't have the space because this is a large hex, get the camera out of stand, double map game. But now I have, so we're on a 4x4 table here, and so you get to gives you a feel for the size and scale of things. There's big stacks here, but I'm not finished setting up yet. We're able to spread units out a fair bit, although you can stack up to 16 stacking points in a hex. So a typical battalion would be 2 stacking points, and a troop or whatever of tanks would be just 1 stacking point. So it gives you a feel for size and things like that. Right. So I was curious to dig into this because I have a thing for African campaign-oriented battles, and this one looked particularly interesting with the Fall of the Brook. It runs all a chunk of May and then most of June to let you sort of play out this campaign. The scale, let me just give you a quick little update. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the game, but then I want to focus in on the victory conditions. I'm just going to double check the scale here. It's on the back of the box, but I don't know if it's in here in the rules. I think the scale is, well, it's AM and PM turns, and then there's I think it's 3 kilometers or 3.2 kilometers per hex. It's an unusual game scale. But nevertheless, that's what works here for this. Now, there are 2 choices, only 2 scenarios. You can start on May 26th, and then you do your own movement of the DAC and Panzer Army Africa formations and work out where you want to do your surprise attack. And the Commonwealth are pretty much stuck in place for the entirety of the 26th. There's some minor adjustments I think they can make, but nevertheless, so there's that. Or you can start right here on the 27th with all your boys looking for the sneaky attack. Now, victory conditions are interesting for a couple of reasons. There's the standard, I got to go capture Tobruk and I win. But there's a mitigating factor for the Allies where if upon release, if they can exit 18 stacking points, I think it is, off of the east edge of the map, that's going to potentially allow them to pull out a win. They've got a roll for that, though. They've got a roll to be allowed to start withdrawing units and formations and whatnot. And one of the ways they can do that, be successful with that role, is by losing control of certain parts of the map. So every 2 villages, you're going to get a +1 to the die roll modifier. You would certainly get a die roll modifier for capturing the railhead here. That's an important factor. But the other thing, let me just move over here because there's a couple of tables that come into play. A lot of games will just say, go capture the area and then you win. And it really doesn't matter what happens to your losses. Well, here's where this game is a little bit different. You've got these reserve tank tracks for both sides. And there's the less reserves you draw on, i.e. replacement points you draw on, the greater the chances of you being successful with your victory conditions. And here you've got, just real quick, you've got the air sectors allocated, and this is all just reinforcements and stuff that arrive. Anyway, so I thought that was nifty and interesting. So we've got on the German side, we've got to capture Tobruk And on the Allied side, we obviously need to keep control of Tobruk. And the terrain is pretty interesting on this map. I just like the color palette. Obviously, evokes desert feelings, and the hexes are nice and large, and also the hex numbers are easy to read. Not that you really need them, because everything's sort of set up in zones, and I'll show you that here. You've got these. So for the axis, on the May 26 scenario, this is where they'll all start. And for the allies, you'll have a zone where all these hexes have to have a zone of control over them. There are two different types of zones of control, but we'll get into some of that later on. The counters are a little busy, but there's a lot of information on them. It's quite well presented. Let me see if I can get a look at a dude here. Here we go. Quite well presented, and it's pretty clean. There's a good use of color to highlight either proficiency of a particular unit type or firepower capability, etc., etc. So we'll get into some of that later on, but I just wanted to share this with you. Had a good read of the rules. I'm feeling pretty comfortable with it. There's actually some parallels and similarities to Herman Luttman's system for combat. When you see the CRT and all the rest of it, if you've played that system, you'll immediately recognize it. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to finish setting up all these stacks, and we'll kind of go from there. Talk to you soon.